Welcome to Two Tall Guys Talking Sales, where today's conversation will explore the heart of servant leadership in sales. Join us as special guest Tom Daly, alongside hosts Kevin Lawson and Sean O'Shaughnessy, explores how the simple act of giving can transform your sales approach, build long-lasting relationships, and drive success. Discover the balance between generosity and professional acumen in this enlightening discussion. Over to you, Kevin.
One of my favorite things to talk about is how deals are won. Not only how deals are won, but sometimes how they're lost. But today we've got the higher side of that discussion, and we're joined today by Tom Daly. Tom, you've been on before. You know the drill. We got 15 minutes to catch up with the audience and lean in on one specific topic. Today's going to be a fun one. You're going to call it something, but I'm going to call it altruistic. Tom, glad you're back.
It's good to be here, guys. This is always a good time.
Tom, when you and I were talking, by the way, what's the name of your company again? Just to refresh us.
Focus Insights Group.
Focus Insights Group, a sales acceleration licensee as well, just like Kevin and I. So Tom, when we were talking a few weeks ago, you had announced to all of us in the sales acceleration community about a deal that you closed, that a customer that you came and said, yeah, I want to be aligned with you and your business. One of the reasons that you were brought into that client and gained notoriety with that client was that you had done something for them in the servant leadership kind of way. And we started talking about servant leadership and the importance of doing that. And we both thought that it would be a great topic for today. So tell us a little bit about that story, if you could.
It was a client that I've actually known for some time. And kind of going back a little bit, I know starting my own professional journey with sales acceleration in the beginning, we really work hard on building really productive referral networks. And there is no substitute for that. And you get better at it over time. And you realize that sometimes you're really pushing on your own because we're salespeople. We're trying to get the thing done. And after a while of just kind of maybe pondering what I was doing, I said, we can get a lot more when we're giving a little bit more. And it can be a number of things, but I found that, in our world, and all of you guys can really relate to this, we've developed some pretty interesting tricks throughout our career, things that we've learned to do. And sometimes the best thing we can do is really share that with others and say, you should give it a try. And I found this with not only clients, but also referral partners, that I talk to them and say, how's your business doing? How is it going? What are you planning on doing? What's the most exciting thing you're going to be working on this year? And then listening actively, not to jump in with the next comment that you want to get through, but to really listen and understand, because at the end of the day, we talk about this all the time, it's always about relationships. I think right now we're really excited about all the AI and the cool tools and lead gen and all this amazing stuff. And it's way cool. But at the end of the day, it's still the people business that we're in. And because we're independents, we are leaders in our field, in that servant leadership. So kind of sharing that story, I got with a client and he said, I'm not really busy. I can't afford you. And then I was like, slow down, slow down. We're just having a chat because nothing really happens until we start to talk. So give me a little bit of this. And he said, I'm struggling with this and I really need to have a job description, but I can't afford this. And I said, slow down. Let me ask you a few questions. What do you want this person to do? What does success look like? How do you think that if you were able to measure them, what things would you measure them on? How do you think you want to pay them? And he basically gave me all the pieces that he needed. He just had to think through it. And of course, we're sales guys, we're wordsmiths, right? So I made it sound good. And I gave it to him. I probably invested 22 minutes in the whole thing, and I was happy to do it. But the response I got back was, nobody has ever done that for me. What do I owe you? I know I owe you something. I was like, no, you owe me friendship. That's it. You would do the same for me. And he was taken aback. And then I was taken aback that he was so surprised. And sure enough, he called me back and he said, let's do something. So we did a very small engagement for him. But my point to that is that it was really, he was on the defensive. Many people are. We are. I mean, how many sales emails did you get today, right? We get a ton of them. So we're on our guard a little bit. So breaking through that a lot of times mean, let me show you something. Let me show you a little bit about LinkedIn. Let me do some things that I know how to do. It doesn't cost me a lot to do. And I want to do that for you. not because I'm looking for anything in return. I just simply feel like that for us to have a relationship, there should be a give and take. And I also remind clients and prospects, 90% of the conversations I have never result in any sort of engagement or any sort of transaction. And that's okay, because we have to learn to really build communities and networks that are helpful, whether I'm the one that gets to help them or one of the people in mind does. It's easier said than done. And I have to be honest that I learned from some of the seniors like you guys that while I'm very gung-ho at trying to get the thing done, I'm also much more effective when I sit back and say, why am I doing that? How can I be certainly a better advisor, but how can I be a better person? And I think that's what service leadership is about.
Tom, yeah, that is right off the end of the diving board kind of good. I'm curious though, Tom, just from your perspective, there's probably some people who are listening to this podcast that are on either side of the fence there. Ones who have maybe never given freely for fear that they're getting taken advantage of. And there's probably some that have given so much that they're not monetizing. They're probably actually even struggling to close deals. So all three of us could give our own perspective. And since you've done the work and you've given to a friend, how do you strike that balance?
It's a great question, Kevin. I mean, because we've always been that one that, wow, we really gave a lot there and didn't get a whole lot in return. But it helps develop our own professionalism. There's a certain point where you say no mas, but there's no problem. We did help them. And if it wasn't in return, that's not the goal. So sometimes you just got to go, okay, that's enough effort in that regard. I think I've given enough there, but you have to. And then I think some people are hesitant to put themselves out there. What's going to happen? What if I get taken advantage of? And then my answer is, what if you do? Because really at that point, you've learned a lesson. Maybe maybe that's not the type of personality you should really be pursuing, but it's okay. You're still alive. You're still a professional. You just learned a lesson, and now you're going to move on and hopefully not make those mistakes again. That's the idea. You don't want to make the same mistake over and over again, maybe 2 or 3 times, but hopefully you learn. But you just learn by doing. And then I know when those folks rise to the top that you just kind of I feel that connection. I feel a certain connection. It's almost like here at Sales Acceleration, we're all independents. But I think the greatest thing that we have, and I tell my clients this, is it's really our community. We've got some cool tools. It's a great company. We do a lot of wonderful. We're the best in the world, but it's the community. Because when I run into something I'm unfamiliar with, I go out to the community and say, guys, anybody seen this before? And invariably 2 or 3 people go, yeah, man, did that for 5 years. I'll help you out. And I tell my clients that I have this extra resource that's available to me, which is therefore available to you. But it's not just sales, because we know so many partners and so many referral partners. And when we go into an engagement, not just to be so focused on the thing that we're trying to accomplish, walk in, learn the business, keep your peripheral vision wide open, because invariably we see that other things are not going so well either. And that's an opportunity to just say, hey, it looks like accounting is getting a little crazy over there. Do you need to talk to somebody that could really maybe help you sort that out a little bit so you can really achieve that growth you're looking for? And being able to recommend somebody I trust, it really just raises my own brand, but that's not why I do it. I do it because I'm a sales guy, and people say, oh, you like the money? Yeah, I like the money. But what I love doing is helping people get what they want. That's what makes joy. Even if I didn't get a check, but I felt like, whoa, you are the greatest in the world. You helped us get where we never thought we could do. I mean, I'm going home and telling my spouse that was a great day. So keeping in perspective what we're doing, why you're doing it, and being a real person, I think it's a reminder to all of us to do that, because if you do, you'll be more successful.
It reminds me of a saying. I don't remember if it was the title of a book or if it was just a saying that Zig Ziglar used to say on a regular basis: stop selling and start helping. And really, if salespeople just keep that as the philosophy of what they do, we are helping a customer solve a problem. I mean, that's in essence what we do when we sell anyway. And we're doing that in return for money usually, right? Some type of monetary compensation of getting that product. But the reality is if we just kind of focus on helping others as much as possible, then life will be better for everybody and it'll come back to us. I did the math one time. It's probably been 9 months ago now since I've done this, but I average 2.8 other people going into one of my customers to solve a problem. You mentioned the accounting problem, but on a regular basis, the CEO, the owner, the founder of the company, maybe their first, second, or third generation owner, they will eventually trust me to the point where they go, Sean, sales is starting to happen, but now I have a new biggest problem. Do you know anything about X? And I usually don't know anything about X. So I give him 5 minutes of advice, which is absolutely free and absolutely worthless because I'm not an expert in that area. But I go, I know Kevin. Kevin's good at that. I know Tom. Tom's good at that. I know Sue. I know Sally. They're experts in that area. Let me introduce you. Have a conversation. If that helps solve the problem, great. If not, well, at least we tried, right? So there's a lot of value in just helping others get to where they want to be. And so I was so happy when I heard your story. It was a great story, Tom.
It is. And, I remember back from running my own business, I had a restaurant, and I advise all listeners, never buy a restaurant. You'll be better off if you don't. But learned a lot of lessons the hard way that I can now use as great lessons for my clients of precisely what not to do. But my memory of it is being an entrepreneur, as we all know, terribly lonely. You become distrustful because of those things, almost to what you're saying, Kevin. You've probably been screwed over a number of times just by making bad decisions, which, that's just Pavlov's dog. Now you don't really want to take risks. You don't want to talk to the next person who thinks they've got the next mousetrap. So really, they need it, but it's hard. It's like self-inflicted, this little fence that you've created around yourself. And so you have to break it through that. And I think as being a servant leader, if you identify with that, and say, I don't exactly know what you're going through, but I went through something similar and it had some great times and it had some real heartache. And I just wonder how your experience is going. Just give them a chance to open up, because if they find a trusted person that really has their best interest in mind, not somebody that's just trying to make a transaction, the chances of breaking through are much better, and the chances of building a relationship. And again, it doesn't matter whether they ever engage me. If we end up being good friends that exchange great ideas, they help me, I help them. Well, gosh, I can't think of anything better in life. That's why we do what we do. And it's being thoughtful, because I know in the beginning we always talked about, let's have a process. And I'm big on process, but there's certain times when you just kind of go, let the process sit down for a second and just be a human. Think, act, don't think about the next question, ponder what they said, even be silent for a second so that you can be helpful. Don't just be a talking head. That I think that salespeople are sometimes, it's dangerous for us because that's what we do well.
Yeah. And for two guys leading a podcast, not being a talking head can be a challenge. Let's just be clear. But it's funny, Tom, you mentioned the process. So the three of us, we talk a lot about sales process, sales strategy, acumen, people leadership, measurements. But at the core of what we do, we've all bought into this idea, kind of the sales acceleration principles of lead with a servant heart, have integrity or act with integrity, deliver excellence, and be fearless, right? So in a lack of fear, we're able to reach out and lead with that servant heart in a high integrity kind of way. So we applaud you. We're excited to hear these stories come from other regions of the U.S. And as we're approaching this 15-minute high water mark for this episode, Tom, let's make sure that everybody knows how to get in touch with you. They know they can find us at Two Tall Guys Talking Sales, but how can they get in touch with you, just as a reminder?
Yeah, so I'm a LinkedIn junkie. So Tom Daly on LinkedIn, I'm in Ormond Beach, Florida, is a great way to find me. You can certainly go to my website too, which is just focusinsightsgroup.com. Just really, really simple. But LinkedIn is my playground and my networking world. So come see me there. There's always a lot of good conversations.
You're amazing, Tom. Thank you very much. I love the fact that you led with the servant heart. You joined onto a podcast where we didn't pay you a dime. You didn't pay us a dime to be on it. It was just three guys. Two of us were pretty tall, but three guys talking about sales, trying to give back, trying to teach somebody else. In essence, you personified what this podcast is all about. We don't charge for this podcast. We don't make money. We don't have ads. We don't do anything. Sure, people hear about us, and so maybe they'll hire us, or maybe it's a little bit of a credibility thing, but you personified what we do in this podcast. So thank you very much.
Well, thanks, Sean, but you also embody it. I mean, you guys have invited me, and what you do with this podcast is servant leadership. It's fantastic. And I know you guys too, because I do it, call you up and say, I'm stuck on a thing. And you guys always say, sure, let's talk about it. And that's what it's all about. So you do the same.
Thank you very much. And for everybody out there in listener land, please think about what you can do to help your fellow man today and tomorrow. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
What a great episode, Sean, Kevin, and Tom. Today's discussion on balancing generosity with business acumen has truly highlighted how integrating servant leadership into sales can lead to meaningful and profitable relationships. Make sure you check out the show notes for ways to contact Tom. Also, the link to the Zig Ziglar quote is there. If you ever need help with sales, sales management, or simply growing your company, don't hesitate to reach out to Sean or Kevin. Details are in the show notes. For more insights like these, make sure to subscribe to Two Tall Guys Talking Sales on your favorite podcast player. Until next Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Happy selling!